All right. I am here with Ramsey Jamoul, who is the CEO of Unified. So can you just tell the listeners a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, and like you said, I'm Ramsey Jamoul. Thank you very much, Landon, for having me
Yeah.
on. I've been a Wichita native almost all my life, since about a couple of years old, and grew up here through school, went to Wichita State, and really have a passion for video games. Kind of
Okay.
how I ended up doing what I'm doing.
Sure. What high school did you go to?
I went to Southeast High.
Okay. Very
Go
cool.
Buffs.
Go Buffs. And I think I was kind of stalking your LinkedIn a little bit earlier, but I think we were at Wichita State the same years. So I started in
Oh
fall of
yeah.
2011 and graduated in spring of 15. So,
Yep. I graduated in December of 15.
okay. So
So
I
yep.
saw 2015. So pretty close though. That's
Yeah.
awesome. We were there most of the same time. So what, I guess, what's your major? What would you study? What were you into during college?
Oh yeah. So all through high school, I was a theater nut and also program. So I don't know how those two really matched up, but started at Wichita State in theater, went over to computer science and finished
Okay.
that out. So a little different background and group of people, but
Sure.
I enjoy both of those, and probably ends up why I'm working in esports. Maybe I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's actually an interesting. I've never would have thought about that combination, but yeah, it is interesting.
I love putting on the shows and getting everybody up on stage. So that's an enjoyable moment right there.
Yeah. All right. So again, esports. I guess I don't know personally. I mean, I do like video games. I wouldn't call myself a gamer by any means. I can get down on some Smash Bros and Mario Kart and stuff like that. But um, when did your kind of esports official? So you might have been into gaming, but when did it really turn into esports in your life?
Well, I started at Wichita State playing competitively for the university.
Okay.
We hosted a few events while we were there, and when I graduated, I actually started hosting those events around the country as well.
Okay.
We got a few events locked in 2018, and it really took off from there. I guess just to throw it down, esports is competitive video games.
Sure.
So Smash is obviously one of the best games that you can play, get a bunch of people shoulder to shoulder and have a great experience.
Sure.
And ultimately, it's some people have really good skill in these games and have practiced quite a bit, and we can all respect skill when it's there.
Yeah.
And putting them on stage and hearing some of their stories is really empowering. And just like any traditional sport, we try to get them up to that point where they're getting thousands of viewers. And I mean, we compete to some level Major League Baseball games. We
Okay.
have very similar viewership
That's
for
insane.
League of
Yeah.
Legends players, and making sure that they get that opportunity to get the prestige they deserve for their skill and their effort. Definitely is a great opportunity.
Sure.
But just like any sport.
Yeah. Do you prefer to be on the competitor side or just putting on the events and everything?
Oh, I am definitely a retired player. Uh,
Okay.
the least I play, the least I have to admit that everyone in the office can beat me at Smash and other
Yeah,
games. So,
that's fair enough.
but we're gonna have to take that part out. There's no
Yeah, of course. So what did it look? I mean, how does it look different now compared to when you were competing in college? Like, how has it evolved? What's different today?
Well, I mean, that's actually interesting. You asked. The whole reason why I started hosting events is no one online took it very seriously through some of those matches. It wasn't as structured. There wasn't as many opportunities.
Hmm.
Now that it's a completely different field. Wichita State has paid staff that help run an amazing program for esports. And they hand out scholarships like many universities and opportunities for players
Yeah,
to go with their interests, just like basketball, if they're not necessarily getting a degree in esports.
sure.
But that's going to be the reason why they are the next art director or programmer, and
Yeah,
got them through with an interest too.
that's really cool. Yeah, that's awesome. And I think I saw somewhat recently. I don't know what the numbers are, but the Wichita public schools, the high schools,
Mhm.
and maybe middle schools are starting to get into it. I think you're somewhat involved with that. Is that true?
I've been able to tour their arena downtown as
Okay.
well as work closely with them on different projects.
Hmm.
They have been able to implement a gaming concepts curriculum, which has done wonders for attendance and GPA for the kids who take this
I bet it
class
has. Yeah.
or are on the team. I mean, whether it's the carrot or on the stick or what have you, they're there and they're showing up to math, English, and science more. So, I
Right.
mean, I think we can all agree like graduating kids is the objective, and this is
Absolutely.
helping. So,
Yeah.
uh, we've been able to see really good progress, and I mean that's the reason why the entire district has really adopted this opportunity, given kids that may not necessarily do traditional sports, or maybe they're a competitive player across the board. They have an opportunity to really play in something that is a world-renowned interest right now.
Yeah. And I think there's a lot of benefits, obviously, to video games, but I think that's one that a lot of people might not think of. And a lot of parents, you could kind of throw that at them, be like, there's a reason your kid's spending hours on video games. It's potentially take them to college, but it's keeping them in school now. And that's really cool.
Exactly. And it goes the same way with like any sport. You don't want your kid playing 12 hours a day of football. I mean, you want a structured practice, and that's a great reason for the district to pick it up. They have an opportunity to give a little more than just gaming as an opportunity. It's a little more structured than that.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so getting to your company, how did it start? What was the original name? And there's been a couple rebrands, so I kind of want to walk through those, but how did it start off?
Well, we started off as Wichita Esports, which was the college group at Wichita State.
Okay.
When we were hosting events, we invited other universities and amateur teams to come and compete at Wichita State, and hosted our Wichita Esports convention every year. That model really of building a community together and putting people on stage is something that we could take other places, and we got invited and hired to do other tournaments as well. So we started expanding our roadmap. In 2018 is when I got my first investment and hired my first employee, and we took it really on the road. We hosted over 46,000 attendees that year across different events that we partnered with or hosted ourselves. So it was a really extreme opportunity from 0 to 100 for sure. But it was a great time, and that's when we really started looking at becoming Midwest Esports, and kind of went into that phase.
Okay, so Wichita Esports, where did you host the events at?
Wichita State was primary location for all of our events at that point. And so mainly to host an annual event at Wichita State, as well as just hosting something for college players at that time.
So like size wise in my head, is this like a computer lab? Is this like Coke Arena, somewhere in between? What are we looking at?
Yeah. So we were at actually the recreational center on campus.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So we were taking first and second floor, the ballroom we've done, and then we moved it over to the new engineering building.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
And that was an amazing experience, being able to use all of the computers that Cybertron had donated to the university.
Right.
Being a gaming computer here in town gave us that luxury. And their support really went really far for what opportunities we could do on campus.
Right.
An additional 200 computers, all of us took well advantage of that.
Yeah, absolutely. So when did you know, when you were kind of transitioning into the Midwest Esports moniker, how did you know it was time to take that next step with the first investment and then hiring the first employee?
Really, it was a kind of a scary deal at the time. I was a programmer at Wichita State, and that was a big leap. I actually remember just having that opportunity sit for some years, as you know, doing it through college and growing. I went through Shocker New Venture competition multiple times, but never with this as our kind of an idea to push forward.
Sure.
And so at some point, when we started getting more and more events, it was taking up more of my time than it probably should have. And that was the moment I had the chance. We showed some promise because there was really something right in front of us that we could take advantage of, and finding the right partners, we got to take advantage of that. And we ended up hosting quite a few events that year. I think about 17 events that across the 46,000 attendees was a tremendous goal that we hit.
Okay. And was that a local investment firm? How did that work out?
We actually did it through local angels. So meeting through whether it was Startup Grind or 1 Million Cups. I've happened to have a couple opportunities to speak at both of those, and just honestly, Wichita has a great mentorship program. Yeah. I went through quite a few different business programs that really gave me the leverage to talk to people I would never have the opportunity to get in close to. And then everyone along the way just, nudging me one way or another and opening doors for me was definitely a great opportunity.
Yeah, I think that's something that I found too. And I've mentioned it on the podcast a couple of times, but how welcoming and warm, I guess. I don't know how to describe it, but just all the entrepreneurs in Wichita are trying to build each other up. They're trying to like make it to the next level. And I think we all can feel we're this close to kind of hitting that tipping point. We're not quite there yet, but we're right there. But yeah, it's just everyone that I've met has been welcoming. And I mean, anybody I've talked to, like Jason Taves or Jacob Wayman or any of those guys, they're all so willing to help, I guess. And they're like, at the end of every conversation, whether it's just grabbing coffee or whatever, like, hey, if you need something, let me know, or what can I do for you? And it's just that give and take of, I think they're all willing to give more because they know that investment in the community can help make it to the next level.
Completely agree. I think we have something really special with just the amount of entrepreneurs that are willing to help each other out. And granted, sometimes it's a little too honest, but you're going to hear the truth, and it's going to be from people who care. So I think that's like a plus that you might not be able to find elsewhere, and if you do, I'm sure it doesn't compare to what we have.
Right. So who was the first employee, and why did you choose them as the first employee?
That's great. So Jackson Qualley was my first employee. He actually went to Wichita State through sports management.
Okay.
And ironically, he interned for me before that through as a sports management major, needing a course curriculum and a practicum, I guess. He was working with me on that. And I had the opportunity to bring him on full time as we started this. Right. And so it was a great opportunity for both of us to really kind of dive into our passions. He's taught me more about video games than I've ever learned on my own. Being very versed in League of Legends and other games, he's a great not only person to help develop our players, but really run our leagues. So I was very excited to bring him on board. But we actually ended up meeting because he was trying to find an internship, I think, with FC Wichita, and somehow found mistakenly us. And we had an interview, and that's how we got his internship. So
that's awesome. And so how has that ramped up? I think I heard, how many employees? Do you have 20 employees? I heard that somewhere. But how did that ramp up? How quickly did you hire people on?
Yeah, so 2018, we had, I think, just under 10 by the time we ended 2018. Closer to 30 around 2019.
Wow.
And with live events being kind of on hold, ramping back up at this point, we're up to about 20 right now. Okay. So it's been a interesting ride as live events have kind of shifted around, but
yeah, no kidding.
Doing everything online has been an incredible joy as well.
Yeah, I think that helps too. And I talked to Alex Harb, who runs Medis, and I think I'm seeing parallels. I just thought of this, but it's kind of like how they had to force themselves to get a little more lean and optimize things for kind of their takeout during COVID. You guys have probably, I mean, you can speak to that, optimized and kind of innovated to make the online systems and events work a little bit better than they were beforehand, which will help long-term.
Oh, definitely. We had the luxury of being in esports, which still participates in competition online. We also acquired Upsurge Esports in late 2019, which is an online league for semi-professional players, as well as players who are kind of looking to do something after college, or about 40% of them are still in college playing at a semi-professional level. So many of them are on the verge of going pro.
Sure.
And being able to really expand what we could do there and develop that out has been an opportunity that we took advantage of during the time too.
Yeah, for sure. Just for clarification, asking for a friend, the difference between semi-pro and pro is a pro somebody that does it full-time, and a semi-pro is just somebody that can make money while doing, it's not their full-time job?
Definitely. That's a good question, and it's very gray.
Okay. Yeah.
Some people are getting paid, especially at the League of Legends professional level, and many other video games have franchises now where it's upwards to 10, 13 $1 million, I think it was, to buy into League of Legends franchise at the professional level. Overwatch, I think, is in $30 to $60 million at some notes, and don't quote me on that one.
Sure.
But it's crazy at that level. Other video games, professional, maybe a seasonal thing. So kind of looking at every video game being its own real sport, it has a lot of different opportunities depending on which track you go.
Right. That's something that's always I don't know if I quite wrap my mind around it for esports. Like, so basketball, football, baseball, whatever else, hockey, the game itself doesn't really change. What makes for a lasting game in esports? Because like Smash Bros, there's always a new Smash Bros around the corner, 5 years, 4 years out, or Call of Duty or one of those. What makes a game kind of stick as a mainstay, like Overwatch, for instance? I guess I don't know if there's been more than one or if how that changes. But what does that look like?
Yeah, it's a very different depending on the publisher too. So every company has their own strategy, and I think League of Legends has a really good kind of definition that they use is imperfect balance. So making sure that the game is never sedimented one way.
Okay.
So they update it every few weeks or every few seasons to be able to really change the shift of who's the best player. So you have to learn new skills, you have to learn new strategies, and that's not something you can do in traditional sports. If you change one of the rules, a lot of people are going to have a fit just for the fact that it's been traditional and it's something you don't want to change because there's valid reasons for why it's been there for the last 50 to 100 years in some cases.
Right.
So we have a luxury of wanting to stay relevant a little more.
Sure. Okay. That makes sense. Yeah. It's just some general esports stuff that I've never really quite understood, but that helps. So walking through kind of the rebrand. So Wichita Esports, Midwest Esports, and go into the unified stuff. Why the name changes? And I guess from Midwest to East or to unified and then so forth. What does that look like? And why were those choices made?
Yep. Obviously, Wichita kind of limited us, went to Midwest, and then grew quickly outside of that as well. So, unheeding anyone's advice along the way about the horrible name that is geographically locked, we finally picked a brand that I think speaks more to what we are and less descriptive. So, Unified is the community that we're trying to empower and connect, the competitive gaming community. And so working with Bill Gardner Design, we were able to make an incredible logo and mark and brand that wraps really the shield and the trophies we hand out and the camaraderie, but also the rivalry, I think is a perfect opportunity to express ourselves. So always heading to a brand that we can use that actually represented ourselves much better.
Right.
But ultimately, we had made a few acquisitions, so Local Legends Gaming, Upsurge Esports, and most recently Challenger Uprising. And we were getting to the point where we know we have buckets where we want to make sure that we're providing the right experience for whether you're at the community level or whether you're at the premier level.
Sure.
And so coming under one unified brand, we have the opportunity to either service community, which is unified community, unified collegiate, unified premier, and being able to put you at the level that deserves kind of different rule sets or maybe opportunities, whether it's scholarships or prestige. Maybe you're looking for a career. Those are all different things that we can do by putting you in the right segment in some cases.
Okay, very cool. And you mentioned a couple acquisitions. So is that something you're actively looking to do, or is it kind of an opportunity that comes along? So you mentioned like a League of Legends league or one of those leagues. Is that just a league that's kind of running along and you're like, okay, rather than us try to build this from scratch, we can go kind of bring these people into what we're trying to go for and go from there?
A little bit of everything, I think, on that note. The esports industry is very close knit in a lot of cases with the tournament operators. And so we've all either worked together at some extent or at least know each other fairly well in this space. As it goes forward, I think it's going to follow just like NBA, just like NFL. It's going to be a consolidation that makes it what it is.
Yeah.
The professional leagues are ran by video game publishers, and our opportunity is in the amateur space, and that's where we focus on.
Okay.
So anything that helps our mission grow in that sense is really what our goal is. So if we can help empower or connect the gaming community, the competitive gaming community together, then we have an opportunity to really seek out some sort of partnership or acquisition.
Okay. So walk me through just a little more specific, what exactly you guys do with these events. Like, what does it look like start to finish? Kind of how many a year are you shooting for? Which obviously COVID threw a wrench in that, but like what would be a goal for like 2021 or once things are completely open in 2022? What does that look like?
Well, in 2019, we hosted over a couple 100,000 attendees.
Okay.
So we want to
Wow.
get back up to kind of that speed. So generally speaking, 2 events a weekend on average
Hmm.
is what we have. So a couple tours that go around the country. And so our goal really is to provide an experience that you can show up as a fan or a spectator. So it's
Hmm.
about half and half, whether you're playing in competitions or coming in to see the experience.
Right.
But whether you're listening to a college player talk about his experience, or the coach talking about how you can get scholarships, or one of the Wichita Wolves, for instance,
Right. Yeah.
talking about how you can be a semi-professional player. Those are the opportunities that you can come and see and meet these people who have taken advantage of something, I think, way beyond their time,
Hmm.
and they're front runners. And it's not hard to achieve some of these goals. So I
Yeah.
think that's a great opportunity for everybody to experience. But even then, we have plenty of what we call quests, where you can go and participate, whether you're in a competition or not.
Okay.
And play video games, whether it's with your child, or
Yeah.
just because you're trying to come out yourself and have fun with buddies. So
Okay, cool. And if somebody wants to get involved, what does that look like? Just kind of find an event that's coming up and sign up, and you guys provide the equipment. What does that look like?
yep. So generally speaking, we'll have computers and consoles of every caliber in every video game that you can think of that's popular. Our goal is to provide the community's tournaments all side by side.
Hmm.
So whether you're a semi-professional player or a high school player, you can have something and competition in your level.
Okay.
The goal is to really, one, help bridge and network more players and provide more opportunities to them as well. These social experiences really are something that benefit not just in the short term and through that experience, but the long term in their careers as well.
Okay, very cool. So just taking a quick step back, you mentioned you raised money and kind of made it more of a big deal than it already was. What did you learn from that process? And is there anything you wish you knew either at the beginning of that process or just when you started everything that you wish you knew then?
I think there's a few things that I might have done a little more efficiently. I think as a first-time entrepreneur at this level, I've learned a lot through some of the business programs I was in,
Yeah.
and through my mentors. And then lastly, experience is definitely a teacher, let me tell you. Uh, but at the same time, I think I was extremely lucky to follow through a path where I had the right people around me.
Hmm.
So anytime I have had challenges, I've always had the right person to really guide me through those, or at least console me as I make it through.
um, yeah, that's what do you think the hardest part of the whole journey has been up to this point?
um, that's a good question. I would say, besides my impatience, I always wanted to move a little faster. I would say the hardest part is really trying to build up the relationships I think I have.
Hmm.
I'm very intrigued by building this community, and sometimes I get ahead of myself.
Right.
So maybe that is my impatience.
Yeah.
But at the same rate, I've been very excited about some of the relationships I've built, and some of the people that have really come and been close to me throughout this journey, whether we're competitors or not.
Sure.
It's been a really incredible journey in that sense.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Um, I was going to ask you something and I lost it. All right. Well,
And
just,
cut. No.
yep, exactly right. So what is next for Unified? All right. You mentioned you're kind of already outside the Midwest. So as it continue to kind of take over, and I think you mentioned the amateur space. Is that the main goal right now, or what's your goal? What are some of your main goals right now?
That is a great question, and I think maybe I'll use this as my what I can suggest or recommend.
Mm-hmm.
We actually do Traction, which is our quarterly and kind of our structure as a business. It's the entrepreneurial operating system, rather.
Mm-hmm.
The book is called Traction. It's an opportunity to just follow a pretty, I would say, tried and true method of running and operating your business. Um, So we're actually going through our quarterly meeting this week, and I have been able to invite everybody to Wichita that is remote. So we have actually been talking about this quite a bit. Now, granted, we have live events coming back starting in July,
Okay.
as well as our online leagues continue to develop. We'll also be hosting the Proving Grounds event, a tier 1 competition. So professional players will be recruiting from this tournament.
Oh, very
And so
cool.
League of Legends have the opportunity to get full-time salaried positions by playing through this competition and showing off.
Very cool.
And we've already had a few players that have gotten extremely far and recognized as great potentials, and a few hired onto the League of Legends Championship Series teams.
Okay, very cool. That's awesome. Just to kind of go a little broader scale, what do you think is next for esports in general? I know it's getting big, and I've seen some of the videos and stuff of, I don't know if it's in the US or wherever it's at overseas, maybe, but just like giant like soccer stadiums and stuff like that that are just full of people watching League of Legends and some of those other games. What do you think is next for esports?
League of Legends has already taken a foothold as a popular sport for everyone under 40 in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
And so I see not only League of Legends, but many other video games that are taking root in our high schools and middle schools that are providing opportunities for these players. That's going to lead to arenas. That's going to lead to more structured programs where we're helping develop not just their player skill, but the psychology, the health and fitness of players around them.
Sure.
Many teams already take that into consideration, especially at the professional level. But now you see that very frequently at universities. But roughly speaking, I see arenas being what comes next. And that might be, a few years from now, but they're popping up all over, just like Level Up Arena in Kansas City.
Yeah.
A great example of a huge facility that can provide some really cool tournament space.
That's cool. What is the largest venue that you guys have hosted at?
I would say Bartle Hall with Planet Comic Con, Kansas City.
Okay.
So that is coming back around in August. And generally that event gets in the tens of thousands of attendees. And so with our stage, gaming stage and competitions there, we have a very fantastic opportunity to get players in front of as many fans as possible. And so that's a huge opportunity and one of my probably favorite shows too. So
very cool. That's awesome. So before we kind of move on to a couple other questions, is there anything else about Unified that I might not have asked about, or anything you'd like to get across?
No, I think that pretty well covers it. I know
Okay.
I've just kind of been talking at a length about it. So
no, that's been great. Yeah, I've loved hearing about the story. So, and we kind of touched on this, but I specifically wanted to talk about a little more about the Wichita kind of ecosystem for entrepreneurs. And you mentioned some of the different programs you've been a part of, and then Startup Grind and 1 Million Cups, and how beneficial that was. And again, I mean, I could name drop some more people, but like Stephen Werner and some of those other guys that are just so helpful. What do you think we need to do to take the next step? Because again, I kind of mentioned, and I think everybody kind of feels that we're like almost to the tipping point to becoming something great. What do we need to do to make that next step?
That is a great question. And I think I've heard it a few times today already. The time is now. It is really a group of people who want to see their city succeed. And I think that's what the tense kind of feeling is. Every one of us is dying to see more success and just celebrate all the wins that we have had.
Right.
Be there for each other throughout it. And I think that is like a huge opportunity that almost every entrepreneur that I come across in Wichita is finding an opportunity to get involved. Now, granted, I think that's a hard part. Maybe trying to find ways to actually help out has always been a little difficult. We've started our Slack group, so of course, anyone who would like to join is more than welcome. And just trying to provide more opportunities. So Groover Labs is a perfect example of being a hub for entrepreneurs to get together. We're going to see a lot more events there for sure, including an opportunity really to get everyone involved. So we will have the Wichita Startup Week happening at some point in September, part of Riverfest and seeing it at Groover Labs. That is a huge opportunity to bring more awareness and celebration to really the Wichita entrepreneurship community. But ultimately, I mean, we can get together and have some fun too. So.
Yeah, absolutely. That's gonna be really fun. I'm excited for that. So we're gonna shift gears a little bit. I have some general questions that I kind of ask everybody. I've stolen this from some of my favorite podcasts, so we have some of those, and we'll kick it off with what is something that you often recommend to people? So it can be books, podcasts, either, or I guess in your case, video games. What would you recommend to people, or what is something you often recommend?
Well, I have to recommend Traction as for any entrepreneur looking to really provide more structure.
Okay.
So especially from me having a computer science and another background, it was something that provided a leg for me and kind of made a lot more sense from everybody telling me this through my business programs too.
Sure.
But at the same rate, Traction is a great book that really just details a step-by-step on how to run your business. So I can't say you can go wrong with that.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to definitely check that one out. I actually haven't heard of that one, so I'm excited to go look that one up. But I guess while we're here, what is your favorite video game?
StarCraft 2 on the competitive side for sure.
Okay.
That was what I played.
Okay.
Granted, never at a professional level, so I'll never see those days. But probably Dragon Age as far as my all-time favorite.
Okay.
Playing through that story is a great game.
Okay, very cool. I haven't played either one of those, but I was Age of Mythology. I played a lot of Fable for a while.
All right.
And then back in like middle school, high school, we'd always have like the Halo 2 LAN parties, and I was always the worst person, but it was a lot of fun. So
yeah, I was in the same boat as when it came to Halo anyway.
yeah, for sure. I think Halo 2 was the last one that had the dual wield needlers, and you could just shoot in a general direction and it would hit them. So I could get away with it for a while, but then Halo 3, they took it away. So
yeah, I didn't do a good job of walking around with any kills that game.
Yeah, exactly. What is your favorite failure in any aspect of your life, or specifically the esports company?
Oh, that's a favorite failure, huh? Let's see. That's a hard question.
It is a hard one, and I'm putting you on the spot. I didn't really give you these ones ahead of time, so.
I would say through it all, I think, and maybe I'll tie it back, making sure I build strong relationships has always been something that is very difficult to do when you're in a fast-paced environment. But more and more as I'm getting through this is something that I found that are kind of the pillars that really are, one, building a better company,
right,
and two, really just the people in my personal life as well. I think that's a huge advantage to be able to double down and focus on the people who matter.
what are your main takeaways or keys to building those strong relationships?
Half of it is giving time when it feels like you don't have it.
Yep.
I'm sure everybody can really feel that way. And especially this last year has been a very difficult year to connect with people. So
right.
I would say being able to actually get in person has been a huge luxury that maybe taken for granted for a while.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I think I've had to practice quite a bit on myself to maybe slow down a little bit and be able to take a little more time for that. So having a little more structured experience where, like Traction, for instance, every quarter, we're doing it as a business where we re-examine our vision and try to align to our ultimate goals and been able to do that personally as well. And it's interesting to see how taking a little bit of time for yourself does you pretty good.
Sure. What is your definition of success?
I would say being able to accomplish our mission would be, as far as our business success, I want to make professional pipeline where players know that our tournaments are providing them that experience.
Yeah.
We've been able to provide professional careers to a few of our players that have played through our ranks. I want to make sure that we continue and strive to do that. So every time I see a storyline like that, that's where I feel most validated, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. And you mentioned you provide that experience, and then it also sounds like you provide that exposure at some of these other tournaments, which is really cool because I'm sure, like any sport, regular sport, it's hard to get in front of people, but even more for esports because it's not, I don't know, it's easier to say, okay, this kid's 6'3", whatever, and he can throw a football or whatever that looks like, or shoot a basketball, but it's a little bit less tangible for video games. So it's important to provide that exposure and the opportunities.
Definitely. with live events not being a huge opportunity or until really the last maybe 10 years to provide players an opportunity to meet as fans. Now you see a lot more amateur teams and teams that represent local cities like Wichita Wolves.
Yeah.
Those are the opportunities that are popping up, and really now players have a stage that they can play on and earn the respect, not be questionable about their motives or why they're doing this.
Right. Before I forget, I was going to ask, do you have an office, or where is your office at?
Yeah, we're actually 250 North Water, so we're downtown in the Murphin Plaza. We're on the first floor there, and really we don't actually have too much gaming going on there since that's where we just our office is. But we also have a warehouse where we keep all of our gaming system. We have to keep them separate, otherwise we get too distracted. So.
Of course. What is a motto that you live by, or what's some of the best advice that you've received?
Some of probably the best advice that I've gotten, especially through all of entrepreneurship, is probably to stay level-headed. You can get easily excited, or things maybe seem overwhelming at times, and usually it's a momentary pass. And with entrepreneurship, it is definitely has its wins and its losses some days. So being able to really take as much as you can and be able to kind of push forward as I would say with wise thought, not just emotional responses. I'm extremely excited when we do things, and when I see kind of stories of players being hyped up and getting their reward. But at that point, it's on to the next one. We have to continue that story and build that pipeline bigger.
Right. Don't get too high and don't get too low. Yeah, for sure. What is a habit that you've developed over the past few years that's most improved your life?
And I don't know if this is a natural habit or one that I actually plan to do. I've just been waking up earlier in the morning. And so, 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning, I'll be able to get started and usually set myself up in the day before really everything starts going. So that's been an incredible experience, just being able to take some time to myself to get myself prepped, and then be able to plan out my day. Then again, if I didn't do that, I'd be running around with my head cut off all the time. So
no, I agree. Especially, I do this podcast and this Wichita life stuff on the side. And so getting up early allows me to have a little bit of time before I go to my real job. And it's kind of nice to, again, work on myself or just give myself some time to prep for the day. And it makes me, starts the day off right, I think. So, so just got a couple more questions. Wichita specific. What is your favorite part of Wichita, or what's a hidden gem in Wichita?
So I live in the College Hill area, and I think the entire experience is beautiful.
Yeah.
I love walking around and then being able to walk at lunch around the river and see the keeper is incredible from our office. So there's just too much to just be outside when the weather's nice. And the last few months has made that really nice.
Yeah, for sure. Since you live in College Hill today, which we're recording this on Monday, the 14th of June in 2021, but today is the opening day of the College Hill Andes. So I got to ask, which side of the controversy are you on? Are you against it or for the Andes in College Hill?
Well, it definitely sticks out. I'm a pretty big fan of all the restaurants in the area, so it's going to be interesting to see. I haven't been yet, and I probably won't be going anytime soon.
Okay,
not to say
enough.
that.
No, that's fine. Really... Yeah. I can see why some people can be upset, because it is a franchise and it might ruin the local vibe, I guess, or whatever they're going for. But I don't know. I love Andes, and it's kind of cool. It's another place you can walk up to and everything. I live over closer to the East Mall, and close to my neighborhood, they just tore down one of the old buildings, which just had a couple kind of older places. But they're putting a McDonald's there. So I think that's a little bit worse, but
yeah, McDonald's would have been worse.
Yeah.
But luckily we got one just a mile the other way. So I'm okay.
Exactly. Is there anything you wish Wichita had that it doesn't, or what would you improve about Wichita?
If I could improve something in Wichita, I would say we have maybe an opportunity, and I think you're probably a big part of the success, but to tell people stories in this. And I think there's very few who've been able to follow a lot of the stories. So I appreciate everything that you do in a lot of the case
Thank
of
you.
keeping
Yeah.
people informed, because we have an amazing city.
Yeah.
We have so many opportunities to really see cool things, and I don't think I've been as informed uh,
Yeah.
probably in my entire life since I've subscribed to your newsletter. So
Thank you. Thank you.
I appreciate
Little
this.
plug. Yeah. I guess something on that point is I 100% agree. I think there are a ton of stories, whether it's unified, to one that really stands out is Arthur Gunn, who was on the last 2 seasons of American Idol. But it's like, okay, he's clearly good enough to get second or top 10 in American Idol. But like, I had no clue he was in Wichita until he was on American Idol. And I think that's a shame. Like, how many more of Arthur Gunns are there in whatever industry in Wichita are there that we just don't know the story of? And I think that is a big part. We need to highlight what we already have, because we always talk about the talent we lose, but what do we already have here?
Completely agree. And I thought the exact same thought when we saw Shark Tank and some Wichita entrepreneurs got there.
Exactly. Yeah.
I assumed, and granted, maybe this is my ignorance, assuming I know every entrepreneur in town.
Right. Exactly.
But ultimately, I think there's some more bridges that we can build. So.
Yeah. So this is a call out. If you or somebody you know is an entrepreneur doing something cool in town, please email myself and we will get you highlighted around Wichita. But just one more question. What does Wichita mean to you?
Wichita means to me, it is home. Coming, and I've traveled a lot this last few years, coming back into Wichita just feels right. It's more peaceful than every other city I've gone to, and I am extremely excited to be a part of the growth and see everyone else succeed here. So I'm definitely doubling down.
Absolutely. Ramsey, thank you for coming on. This was fun. We'll do it again kind of as the company grows and continue to tell your story and highlight all the awesome stuff you're doing in the esports space. Where can people find you or the company? Is there anything you can plug or social media or anything like that?
Yep. I'd love for anyone who's excited to come and check out one of our events. If you go to our website, uea.gg. So the Unified Esports Association, and GG stands for good game. So a little extra esports fact for you.
I had a feeling that's what it was for, but you never know. But I'll link up all the social media of yourself, Unified Esports, and then the website as well to all the events and continue. So yeah, I appreciate you coming on, and I'm excited to follow your journey.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the time and really look forward to seeing the next newsletter come out too.
Awesome. Thanks, Ramsey.
Have a great one.
You too.